Hello everyone. Welcome back to the Ly Tu Diep RV channel. Today, we will continue to follow the touching love story between James and the poor girl Tu Diep. If you haven't watched the previous episode, don't worry, I'll give you a quick recap. In the last episode, Tu Diep regained all of her past memories that had been buried for a long time. She remembered the sweet moments, the intense emotions that she and James had shared, and the struggles they had overcome together. Although she once thought she was not worthy of James's love, she has now realized that love has no boundaries. It doesn't discriminate based on social status or family background. James, after learning the truth, was overjoyed. He felt relieved that Tu Diep had finally remembered everything. But alongside that happiness, he couldn't forget the moments he had experienced, the times when he was worried and lost, unable to find her in the place he knew she might be hiding. Part of him couldn't accept the thought of losing the girl he loved, while another part seemed to have lost hope and no longer believed in miracles. Let's go back a bit to the days in the deep forest, where James was searching for Tu Diep alone. Imagine a quiet, foggy atmosphere, dense tree canopies making everything difficult to navigate. James wandered alone, but deep inside there was still a faint glimmer of hope, a strong belief that Tu Diep was somewhere in that forest. He couldn't bear the uncertainty, not knowing where she was, whether she was safe, or whether she still remembered him as he remembered her. Each step James took in the forest was a struggle with himself. The feeling of exhaustion and despair almost made him collapse, but he couldn't give up because he knew that with just a little hope, he could find her. He couldn't accept losing the girl who had changed his life, the girl he loved so madly. And in a moment when everything seemed hopeless, when the light of day was fading, James happened to discover a trace, a small trace, but enough to ignite his belief. That was Tu Diep's trace. Can you imagine how James felt at that moment? Joy and happiness intertwined with worry, wondering if she was still there, whether she had survived all the days of running away, or if he had the strength to overcome the challenges in his search. Each step he took now led him closer to the girl he loved, and his heart was beating wildly with the hope that, at last, he would find Tu Diep. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on the exciting developments in James's search. This love story, full of ups and downs, will have many surprises, and the upcoming events will keep you glued to the screen. Stay tuned with us to continue following this emotional love story. That day, the rain fell gently, like silent tears. In the deep forest, the silence was so intense it was almost chilling. All sounds seemed to be swallowed up by the vastness of nature, and the only sound left was the echo of James's footsteps in the stillness. He was no longer afraid of anything. The fear, the anxiety, had disappeared the moment he made the decision to find Tu Diep. All his thoughts now had just one image: Diep. He remembered the days spent with her, her sweet smiles, her warm words, and the moments of happiness they had shared. All he wanted now was to find her and bring her back. James quickly ran along the paths, following the footprints he believed to be Diep's. In his heart, there was a strong belief that she was still somewhere in this forest, and that as long as he kept going, he would find her. But as he ventured deeper into the forest, his strength began to run out. His steps grew heavier, his eyes blurred with fatigue and sleepiness. It seemed that his legs could no longer support his body, and James collapsed unconscious without realizing it. When he woke up, he found himself in an unfamiliar place. He saw old walls with the soft glow of oil lamps casting a faint light over the space. This was not his home. The first feeling upon waking up was confusion. He sat up, trying to remember what had happened. Suddenly, everything came rushing back to him. He still hadn't found Tu Diep, and that thought tightened his chest. He recalled the search in the forest, the sense of loss and worry that had followed him through the long journey. At that moment, an elderly woman entered the room, gently walking in and looking at him with kind eyes. She smiled softly. "You're awake now? You fainted in the forest, and I brought you home and took care of you." James felt touched as he looked at the old woman, thanking her for her help. He quickly tried to get up, but his health hadn't fully recovered. The elderly woman gently stopped him and said, "Rest, don't rush. You're still too weak. Let me help you." James thanked her once more and promised to come back to visit when everything settled. After feeling a little better, he stood up, preparing to head home, his heart filled with thoughts and worries. He stepped outside and the sky was still rainy, but his mood was no longer calm as it had been before. Thoughts of Tu Diep rushed back to him and he felt lonelier than ever. He walked through familiar paths, but the feeling of emptiness still enveloped his mind. When he got home, his mother was sitting on the sofa, looking worried. She saw him and immediately asked, "Where's Diep? I haven't seen her around for a while. Did you see her?" The question from his mother made James's heart tighten. He could no longer lie to her because he knew the truth was too clear. He sat down beside her, his eyes filled with worry, and slowly said, "Mom, Diep is missing. I can't find her anymore." When his mother heard those words, she froze. She couldn't say anything, just sat there in silence with empty eyes. Every word James spoke felt like a knife piercing through her heart. She remained silent, not crying, not reacting, just lowering her head and slowly collapsing in shock. James hurriedly caught her, his heart pierced by thousands of daggers, and a sense of helplessness overwhelmed him. He took his mother to her bed, filled with worry, unsure of what to do. His fear for his mother and for Diep made him feel like everything was falling apart. He took out his phone from his pocket, his hands shaking as he dialed Trang's number, the only close friend he could trust right now. When the phone connected, James urgently said, "Trang, help me. My mom passed out. Can you come take care of her? I need to go look for Diep." Trang, on the other end of the line, didn't say anything but quickly agreed. James felt a little relieved knowing his mother would be cared for, but his mind couldn't escape the image of Diep. He felt like a lost soul in the vast sea of people, unsure of what to do next to find her. Every moment that passed, he had only one wish: to find Tu Diep soon, bring her back, and spend peaceful, happy days with her. James walked into the police station, his mind heavy with worry. He felt the fear that had consumed him since Diep went missing, and now he could only rely on the police for help. The sharp white lights in the office seemed to amplify the tension in his heart. He looked into the eyes of the officers working, and immediately a sense of relief washed over him as he realized they were equally determined to help him. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, within minutes, a police team was mobilized. The officers quickly divided the tasks, each assigned to follow a trail left by Diep. Tiny clues James had memorized throughout his search. Each person was assigned a specific area, from the village surroundings to the deep, winding paths in the forest. Everyone knew this wasn't just an ordinary search. Every moment could be a life-or-death decision for Diep. The footsteps moved relentlessly through the night, flashlights flickering through the dense, dark woods, creating an atmosphere of intense anticipation. The surrounding landscape seemed to witness each step, filled with hope and despair. Each officer silently thought, "Will we find her before it's too late?" James stood outside, his heart racing as he watched the officers hurriedly board the vehicles, preparing to leave. He couldn't stop thinking about Diep, her image lingering in his mind. He wondered, is she still out there somewhere? Will we reach her in time to save her? The next episode will reveal surprising developments in this arduous journey. Will the police be able to follow the trail and bring Diep back safely? Or is some danger lurking in the shadows of the forest, waiting for them? The answers will be revealed in the next episode. Don't miss it.
Diêp bước vào trụ sở công an, tâm trạng anh nặng nề, lo lắng tột cùng. Anh cảm nhận được nỗi sợ hãi đã bao trùm lấy tự Diệp khi mất tích, và giờ đây anh chỉ còn có thể trông cậy vào sự giúp đỡ của lực lượng công an. Những ánh đèn trắng sắc nét trong căn phòng dường như càng làm thêm sự căng thẳng trong lòng anh. Anh nhìn vào đôi mắt của các cán bộ công an đang làm việc, và ngay lập tức một cảm giác nhẹ nhõm thoáng qua khi anh nhận rằng họ đang đồng lòng quyết tâm giúp anh. Sự nhận thấy sự cấp bách của tình hình, chỉ trong vài phút, một tổ đội công an được điều động đến ngay lập tức. Các đội viên nhanh chóng phân công nhiệm vụ, chia nhau đi theo các dấu vết mà Diệp để lại, những manh mối nhỏ nhoi mà James đã ghi nhớ trong suốt hành trình tìm kiếm Diệp. Mỗi người đều một nhiệm vụ riêng biệt riêng, và từ những khu vực quanh ngôi làng đến những con đường mòn hun hút trong rừng, tất cả đều biết rằng không chỉ là một cuộc tìm kiếm bình thường. Mỗi giây phút đều có quyết định sống còn đối với Diệp. Những bước chân không ngừng di chuyển trong đêm, ánh đèn pin lóe lên trong căn rừng tối tăm. Tiếp theo sẽ hé lộ những tình tiết bất ngờ trong cuộc hành trình gian nan này. Liệu các đội công an có thể theo kịp dấu vết và đưa Diệp trở về an toàn? Câu trả lời sẽ được bật bí trong tập tiếp theo.